Focus. Hello everyone and welcome to my very messy garage. It's a little bit windy out today, so I won't be doing the work outside, but hopefully you don't mind the mess. Today we are installing the TC Bros straight sissy bar for the Sportster. They make these in a couple of variations. I'll stand it up so you can kind of see. But the one that I opted for is this one. You can kind of see that it's perfectly straight. They make one that's kind of like straight and it has a little kink at the top. And then they also make one that has a little mini cushion. So if you do intend on carrying pillions, they can kind of lean back and they'll be nice and comfortable. But I'm never going to carry anyone on the back of my bike, so I just got this. It's primarily for strapping luggage too. I'm going to lean that down. And then I'll show you everything that came in the box. I did open it up and recycle everything, but this is everything that came inside the box. So I got a little cozy. This is TC Bros, which is wonderful. I got some stickers. That's nice because you can't have enough stickers. Get that out of the way. And then this was installed on the bar like this. I removed it, had a couple of washers and stuff, and then there's some bolts as well that came with it. To do this install, as far as I can tell, it didn't come with any instructions, but as far as I can tell just by looking at it, you're going to need two basic hand tools. You will need a T40 torx screw. It's like the thing that kind of looks like a star. It's not a common like head, like a screwdriver head, so if you don't have one, you might have to run to the hardware store to buy one. But I did happen to have one just lying around, which is very lucky. And then you'll need a wrench. This one is a 9/16. I have no idea what that means, and I'm sorry I don't know what that is in metric. So I find that it's easiest if you start from the back. You've got to remove two bolts. Focus. Come on. There we go. So you've got to remove two bolts. That's the first one here in the rear. It's behind the tail light. And then that's the second one there. The second one's a little bit more difficult, so we'll do the first one first. All you need for this is a T40 torx screwdriver. Here we go. That's what that looks like. It looks like a little star, basically. It's not that common, so you might have to run to the hardware store to buy one. But I had one lying around. So this one's super easy. All you do is unscrew it. That's basically it. There's only one kind of little quirk for this. Because the tail light is here, if I go in from the side, you can see it's basically going to be in the way of a screwdriver going in there. You're going to need basically either like a ratchet wrench type thing with the T40 bit on top, or you're going to need a very long screwdriver like what I have, or if you don't have either of those two things, you'll need to remove this. You just get a flat head. There's a little section. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there. Focus. It's on the bottom right there. There's like a little section right there that's meant for putting your screwdriver into. You can pop this right out, and then that'll give you about, about a ½ inch of space for you to work with. So either of those three options will be fine, whatever works for you. I personally just have a really long screwdriver, so we're just gonna unscrew this. There you go. So this little flange that just fell off, that's supposed to stay on. But that's basically what the bolt is being screwed into. So I'm gonna set this down and show you. This bolt, focus. It just doesn't want to focus. There we go. This bolt screws into this, which lives kind of at the back of where the bolt is, right? So they screw in like this. This sits this way. So there's like a little lip here, and it hangs into a little cutout that's on the inside of your fender. So when you remove this, just remember to keep them safe and don't lose them, because you'll need them later for your install. And then the second one is pretty annoying, but we're going to have a crack at it. What you're going to need is your wrench. Kind of leave that right there. Hopefully that focuses properly. Right. You're going to need your wrench, and depending on how you have your suspension adjusted, you might need to bring this up. Mine isn't slammed all the way. It's only on, I think, 2. So it's not too bad, but essentially what you have to do is you have to get your wrench, reach through the back, and it's a very tight space depending on where your suspension is, and make sure that this sits on the nut that's in the back of this bolt. It's very fiddly to do. Take your time doing it. Alright, cool, that was a pain. Okay, right, so here we go. And that is what we removed. Keep those safe. And then of course you'll do exactly the same thing on the other side. Okay guys, so I got everything removed on both sides. Definitely a really frustrating experience trying to get the front bolts removed, but stick with it. Take a breather if you have to, and get some more smaller hands if you have to. So once all of that is done, all that's left to do is basically to set this on top and line everything up. You'll kind of notice that it has little bits that protrude out. You know, I'll do it from the other side, so you can kind of see right there. So when you try to set this on top, what's going to happen is this is actually going to feel like it's too narrow. I'll show you. So it feels like it's too narrow. What you have to do is kind of pry the whole thing apart a little bit. But that's just about where it's going to sit. So you can kind of see that's what it looks like. It bypasses the tail light right there. And it's sitting flush right now, but it won't when we install the bolts. So this is all the hardware that I removed. But it came with different hardware, and it came with these bolts and washers as well. So I think what we should do is use the hardware that they gave us. And I kind of prefer it just because it's Allen wrench, so Allen bolts, instead of this T40 stuff, which I really don't like. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rear ones first because I know that they're easiest, and then I'll do the front ones because of the fiddly bit with the nuts that have to go in the back. There we go, that's going to go right there. To get this to kind of attach the flange, what you'll do is you'll grab the flange like this with the flat bit at the top. If you feel on the inside, you'll feel what feels like a rectangular indent, and you'll just hook the flange in like that. Then with your thumb and your index finger, squeeze the Sissy bar bracket and your fender, because this doesn't sit flush automatically. It has to be kind of forced together. And then when you do that, you should be able to kind of finger tighten this until the thread starts to seat. So I didn't tighten it all the way. I'm going to do this side as well, but I'm not going to tighten them all the way because I want to ensure that there's a little bit of wiggle room so that I can align the front ones properly, because we all know how difficult the front ones are. So just make sure that you don't tighten it completely. That way you can kind of still like wiggle the front a little bit. Okay, so lastly we're going to do the front bolt. I'm actually reusing the nut that came original to the bike when it was stock. The nut that comes with the TC Bros Sissy bar is, it doesn't have this like flange, and I really didn't like that, and I did test out that these fit perfectly. Again, like the rear, I'm not doing it fully tight. I'm going to do the other side first, and then once that's all done and I'm sure that everything's aligned the way that I want it to be, I'm going to tighten everything, and I'll get a wrench back there and make sure that that's properly on. Okay, so my camera died while I was doing that last bolt over there, but I think that I caught what I was saying about how to install the bolt on the footage. It's really, really simple. It's exactly the opposite of what you did to get it off in the first place. Just make sure that you get it on there tight, and then make sure you tighten all 4 of them, both sides, so 2 of them both sides, and then ensure that you're happy with the alignment. There's not very much give in terms of where, you know, this sits, because obviously everything has to align perfectly straight, but there is a little bit, and you can find that it gets a little bit crooked. And then of course the most important thing, other than making sure that it's on there tight, make sure that there's space between the tail light and the bracket, because you definitely don't want that touching. This is basically steel, and this is plastic, so you definitely don't want that to touch. So everything's on there now. I'm happy with it. I'm going to give it a good shake. It feels very hardy. This is a very heavy bracket, so I feel good about that. And I think it looks pretty good. I do have a bag on the way. I don't do really any long trips, but I wanted to put a bag on top of this so that I could run my, you know, grocery chores and whatnot, and not have to take my car if I wanted to ride. So I think it looks pretty good. I'm gonna wheel it outside so we can have a proper look at it. Wow, it's really windy out here. Hopefully that's not being picked up too much on the mic. Anyway, I think it looks really good. Actually, a little bit smaller than I thought it would be, but obviously a lot of the height is down below where the bracket is, so you don't really get it above the seat. And I do have a tall seat on the back, so it makes it look even smaller than it really is. All in all, I'm really, really happy with it. It was a little bit more fidgety than I thought it would be. That bolt there at the front was an absolute pain to remove, but I got there in the end. If you're thinking about installing one of these, I absolutely recommend it. I think it's a really, really good product, and it was actually almost half the price of the original thing that I was going to go for. That was out of stock online, so, you know, fortuitous that I ended up with this one. If you have any questions about this Sissy bar, or, you know, installing it, or fit and finish, anything like that, please just pop a comment down below. I will try and get back to you as soon as possible and to the best of my knowledge. Until next time, I will see you guys on the flip side.